So we've got a quick and fun video today. I remembered a while ago, back in 2023, IGN posted a survey, like a list of 10 characters that they thought should be in the DCU. James Gunn did reply of the 10, and he said something like, is 5 of the 10 okay? Obviously, what people have taken from that is that literally 5 of these 10 characters are in the DCU. And I thought it'd be fun. Now a bit of time has passed and we know a little bit more, not a lot more, but we know a little bit more about the DCU and kind of where it's going, is I'll go through the list and I'll say whether I think this character is going to be in the DCU or not, and then give a little bit of a confidence rating as well as to how right I think I'm going to be, or if I'm not too sure. It's just a fun thing to do, and we can come back in a few years' time after some of these movies are out and just see just how right, or as the case may be, just how wrong I was. As always, thanks for clicking, everyone. Really appreciate it. If you've got your own thoughts as to you think I'm right or wrong, or you think you know which characters are going to be in and which characters are going to be left out, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. And if you can, like and subscribe, that'd help me out. My current goal is to get to 100 subscribers. I think that's an achievable goal, and if you'd like to help me achieve that, I'd be very grateful. Okay, so we're diving straight in with Nightwing. Nightwing, 100% in. I 100% think we're going to see Nightwing in the DCU. He's too popular a character to leave out. And looking at where he could pop up, there's a few different projects where you could see Nightwing pop up. The most obvious one being Batman, the Brave and the Bold. I do think that movie will start with an established Bat family, so he'll already have been Robin and he'll be Nightwing there. There's also rumours of a Teen Titans movie that might be coming out. And obviously Nightwing, Dick Grayson would be the lead role or the lead male of that group, you would imagine. Or Nightwing, I think, as well, is so popular these days and so well known these days, he could carry his own project if you wanted a Nightwing movie or a Nightwing TV show. Out of all those possibilities, I do think I like the idea of Teen Titans the best. Nightwing and Starfire, they are one of my favourite DC couples, so I would love to see that relationship explored in the movie. But Nightwing, 100% definitely in. Okay, so next is the Martian Manhunter, one of my favourite characters of all time. Now, I'm not too confident about this one, but I am going to go with a yes for Martian Manhunter, just because there's been a lot of Justice League International type teasers and we're getting some JLI characters in there. And I think if you are going down the JLI road, you have to include Martian Manhunter as too integral of a character again. My only concern here and why I'm not that confident is I'm not too sure if we are going down that road just yet, or if we're going to establish a more traditional Justice League first and have some adaptation or some version of something like The New Frontier to come out first, and then maybe kind of start with characters like Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Guy Gardner, and have projects with them in, and then eventually move to a JLI further down the road, and that's maybe where you'd bring in Martian Manhunter. I mean, I personally also like Martian Manhunter just on the main Justice League, but potentially they might go in a different direction. I do think we'll get him eventually. It's just whether we get him in this Gods and Monsters phase. I think so. I'm not sure, so I'm going to tentatively say yes. The next one up is Lobo, and again, 100% definitely Lobo is going to be in, and he's definitely going to be played by Jason Momoa. And I do think there's a very strong chance that he'll appear in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. It's just been too rumoured now. It's been too... James Gunn himself teased a photo of Lobo, and I think some of the other characters that he teased are confirmed to be in other projects like Mr. Terrific and people like that. And plus, so many fans have fan-casted Jason Momoa as Lobo, and they clearly have a great relationship. I think James Gunn a lot of time can't help himself when it comes to stuff that fans really want. He just wants to do it, and he wants to give us it. So I do think it will be Jason Momoa as Lobo, definitely. There's a rumour he will appear in Supergirl. I think that's pretty spot on. I think for this Woman of Tomorrow adaptation, Creme of the Yellow Hills isn't a big enough name. It's not a big enough kind of bad guy to have in a movie. So I do think they may be tempted to pepper the movie with other more notable DC villains and DC characters, and I think Lobo would be a good one to have on a space hopping adventure, planet hopping adventure. He is someone, it makes sense he'd run into Lobo. So, yep, 100% Lobo. I do think Supergirl starts filming in January, so we should get casting really quite soon. So I think they'll either officially announce it or we'll get set photos. They could even leave it as a surprise for the movie, but I do think we'll find out for definite very, very soon. Number 4 is Brainiac, and I could only pick 5 of these. I've got to say no to some people, and so this might be a bit of a controversial one, but I am going to say no to Brainiac being in it for now. I don't think he might be in phase 1. I think he will be a big bad for the Justice League at some point, and there will be teasers and there will be references. Again, I don't like kind of doing the Marvel comparison, but I think he is more of a long game big bad like Thanos. The Avengers had to beat Ultron and that first before they got to Thanos, but they were teasing him first of all. So I do think you would, in this scenario, want to establish a Justice League first, have them go up against someone different. I think perhaps maybe Vandal Savage or somebody like that would be a good first villain for the Justice League. And then have him as a big bad down the road, perhaps not in like chapter 1, but further down the road. I do think we'll see Brainiac as a Justice League villain, but just not right now. Number 5 is Deathstroke, and again, another controversial one, and I can only put 5. If I could maybe put 6 or 7, I would have included Deathstroke, but I think with it only being 5, I'm going to have to say no to Deathstroke, because there's others that I think will be in more. Now, Deathstroke has been teased quite a bit, to be fair. There was concept art of him appearing in the Suicide Squad before they ended up going with Bloodsport. And there are rumours that he might end up in the Waller TV show. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there, but just based on this list, he's in the bottom half of people that I think are most likely. And I've got my own theory as to why this is. Now, Joe Manganiello obviously was Deathstroke in the Snyderverse. I do think James Gunn is trying to avoid recasting drama. Joe Manganiello has his fans. I thought in the little that we saw of him, I thought he was good. And I think he's going to try and avoid a recast and drama like that. So instead of saying, I haven't recast the character, I haven't fired Joe Manganiello, he can just say, I'm not using Deathstroke. Similar to what he did with Black Adam. He said, I'm not firing The Rock, I'm not recasting The Rock, I'm just not using Black Adam. And for that reason, I think as well, when the Flash turns up in the DCU, it will be Wally West and not Barry Allen, just because then he gets to nicely kind of avoid any drama with Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, any of that stuff. He can just say, I haven't thought about it because I'm not using Barry Allen, so there's no need for me to think about it. I think that's a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card for him, and I think it makes sense to use that if we're not having Deathstroke. Again, this is one that I'm not confident on, I may be wrong, but you do avoid that if you don't use Deathstroke in the DCU. Okay, next up is Jason Todd, Red Hood, Robin, however you know him, Jason Todd. I personally feel there is no chance we're going to get Jason Todd in the DCU in any meaningful way. I do think narratively there's issues with Jason Todd that mean he's difficult to make, and we saw this in Arkham Knight, where if you think about from a movie point of view, the casual movie-going audience is not going to know who Jason Todd is. So you're going to have to spend time introducing that character. And then you have the comic book fans who know Death in the Family. They know Under the Red Hood like the back of their hand. They know it all. And you saw that in Arkham Knight, where they had to spend time explaining who Jason Todd was, and then that massively kind of telegraphed the twist at the end. And for that reason, you're not ever going to be able to do Under the Red Hood or anything like that. So I think just from a storytelling, narrative perspective, it makes sense to leave Jason Todd out. If he was to be included, I personally would love to see like a Red Hood and the Outlaws like TV show, even animated TV show or something would be great. Just go all out and go crazy with it, and you don't really have to worry about that. But in terms of like big movies like Brave and the Bold or in Turn Up, anything like that, I really don't think so. Now, number 7 is Zatanna. Zatanna, 100% definitely in, I think. We're already getting teasers for Justice League Dark stuff. We know there's going to be a Swamp Thing movie. Teasers of a Dead Man animated movie. James Gunn teased a Dead Man image on his Twitter or his Threads or wherever he posts these days. So I think we are heading towards Justice League Dark, and there's going to be a Justice League Dark project, and Zatanna will definitely be in that. She's too much of a low-hanging fruit to do. Off the top of my head, I think she's been in Smallville, and that's it. For live-action adaptations, I might be wrong, but she's really had very few live-action adaptations. So I think it'd be really great for like an A-list actress to come in and really take ownership of that role and really have like a genre-defining role, similar to what Margot Robbie did with Harley Quinn. Just come in and own that role and be Zatanna and have that be a thing that you're known for. Particularly as well in big budget movies, I do think her abilities, like speaking backwards, visually, using the audio, you could make that really cool in movies. So I think she's too big a character that's been untouched for so long, and she has so much potential. And I think we're heading towards Justice League Dark. The arrows seem to point that way. Definitely think we're getting Zatanna in the DCU. Number 8 is the Court of Owls. Now, I think we can see where we're going with the Batman stories in the DCU, and I don't think Court of Owls is it. Really, we're looking at the Batman and Robin relationship with Bruce and Damian, and really what that should explore is the heir to the demon, heir to the cowl type storylines. I do like Court of Owls. I'd like to see it I'd like to see an adaptation of it, but I did not love the adaptation from Gotham Knights, the video game. And to be honest, that has kind of put me off Court of Owls adaptations a little bit. So I personally like to see them go down like League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul type of a storyline with Batman in the DCU and leave the Court of Owls out of it. I think there's too much storytelling potential around having Damian there. You don't really need the Court of Owls to do it. So I think there's really no chance that we're going to get Court of Owls in the DCU. Next on the list, number 9 is Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze, I don't think will be in the DCU because I think he's going to be in the Reeves verse. So I think they'll probably want to leave him out of the DCU. Again, James Gunn seems keen on only having one adaptation of a character at a time. That's why we're ending Superman and Lois, the TV show, so there can only be one Superman. I do think by the time we get through to Brave and the Bold, the Reeves verse will kind of either be done or they'll be working on like the final movie or something. I do think they'll be keen on avoiding reusing the same characters where possible. Sometimes it might not work. And I do think James Gunn and Matt Reeves do seem to have a good relationship and they'd happily kind of share notes. And if Matt Reeves is planning on using Mr. Freeze, James is going to say, well, you can have that character. I'm not going to put him in the DCU. So for that reason, Mr. Freeze is Reeves verse. He's not DCU. He's not going to turn up. And last, but definitely not least, is John Constantine. Now, if you're keeping track, you'll know I've already said 5 yeses. So I'm not allowed to say yes to John Constantine. So I was trying to figure out how that might work because it directly contradicts what I've said about the Justice League Dark coming and Zatanna being involved, Dead Man, Swamp Thing, all those. How can you have those and not Constantine? And one theory that I did think of as to why potentially you don't do it is I think we are getting Constantine, but I think potentially it will be Keanu Reeves in Constantine 2. And like what I just said about Mr. Freeze, James Gunn doesn't want to reuse characters. So he'll leave Constantine for now until we've had the Keanu Reeves Constantine 2. And then potentially once you get through to Justice League Dark, you can reintroduce a Constantine then. I would like in the DCU, as much as I do like Keanu Reeves as an adaptation of the character, I really like that movie. I'd prefer for the DCU for him to be a bit more faithful to his comic book appearance. So, you know, from the UK, Northern, blonde hair, all that stuff. So, yeah, I think the reason why we might not get Constantine is we might get him through Keanu Reeves and a standalone sequel to that movie. And that's why he might not appear in the DCU yet. All right, so that's my list. I'm sure some of you will agree, some of you will disagree on things. If you've got any different ideas, any different theories in particular, drop them down below. I'd love to hear them. I'm sure we'll get a good discussion going down there. Again, if you can like and subscribe, that really helped me out, and I will catch you in the next one.